Hey guys, what's going on? Steven back again, and I'm back with another 40k video from the channel, More Lore. And the title of this video is Every Single Cursed Space Marine Chapter Explained. I don't really know much about cursed Space Marine chapters, unfortunately. I don't know if you would consider them cursed, but like the Legion of the Damned. I don't know if they're cursed or just mysterious. The only other chapter, I forgot their name, that might be considered cursed is the one that has, what is it, like giant bone spikes coming like out of their arms, kind of Wolverine-esque. Yeah, I forgot that chapter's name. I can't remember what it's called, but that's the only thing I remember is the giant bone spikes coming out of their arms. I guess that would be like the only cursed Space Marine chapter I can think of. On that, I don't really know really any others. So anyways, yeah, let's just jump right into the video and check it out, shall we? Here we go.
In the waning years of M35, the Imperium began an experiment that would have lasting repercussions.
Okay.
An experiment that would produce some of the most tragic and horrifying soldiers that humanity would ever know. It would become known as the Cursed Founding, the 21st founding of New Space Marine chapters, and would go down as one of the most harmful mistakes in the Imperium's history.
So what were they trying
The
to do
chapters
with this
created
experiment?
in this event would suffer from extreme mutations, dysfunctional behaviors, and supernaturally bad luck.
Ooh.
Most of them burned out quickly, some of them quite literally, in fact, and those that remain live in the knowledge that one day the Inquisition that helped create them will finally decide to wipe the slate and start
So
over.
the Inquisitors
To
made
understand
them?
how the Cursed Founding even happened, we have to take a look at what was taking place around that
So what
time.
were they trying to do? Just like
The biggest
upgrade Space
event
Marines or
was
something like that?
undoubtedly
Kinda like
the Age of Apostasy, a period of
Primaris
strife
Marines
and
just trying
corruption
to
that had almost
do that and it just
destroyed
failed?
the Imperium and had led to an upswell in religious fervor. Two major things came about because of this renewed faith in the Emperor. The first is the formation of the Adeptus Sororitas, the Sisters of Battle, who unfortunately don't factor much into this story. The second is the rise of the Thorian sect of the Inquisition, a group of religious inquisitors and agents who brought back an old idea from the end of the Horus Heresy that perhaps a new body could be found for the Emperor to take and re-enter mortal life. This
Could
was
that
an
actually
idea that
happen?
had many opponents, but more importantly, it sparked other similar beliefs, such as the idea that the imperfections in Space Marine gene seed could be weeded out, made pure so that the Emperor's vision could be closer to reality. Here is where we meet Inquisitor Cressier. A staunch Thorian, Cressier had managed to acquire the services of a mechanicum biologist facility on the planet of Incunabla, just before the civil war of the Age of Apostasy began. Cressier started a series of experiments, one of
Okay.
which was the Homo sapiens Novus, or New Humanity Project. The idea was to remove faults in humanity, including in the gene seed of the Astartes legions, even the traitor ones, if rumors are to be believed. Regardless of the good intentions, this project would produce a handful of Space Marine chapters, only 6 of which survive in the Imperial records to this day, and all of which suffered horrific mutations and have either been
only
eliminated
6?
by Imperial
That's it? Just
authorities,
6?
gone missing completely, or are still being watched
So I take it
closely.
he tried to do
One of the
something and
best
screwed up.
examples of this are the Black Dragons.
Oh, maybe
These
this is them.
black-armored Astartes have a mutation in their osmodulla, which aids in
The
growing
bone?
and strengthening the bones of a neophyte recruit. This mutation changes the organ to make it keep releasing new bone growth hormones even after the implantation process has finished, resulting in increased size
Black
and
Dragons.
large horn and blade-like crests
Okay.
forming on the Marine's head and forearms. Apothecaries and Chapter Command have reportedly been actively encouraging this mutation throughout the years, which is a deeply heretical policy as it promotes changes to the perfect Astartes form designed by the Emperor himself. Whether this is true or not, the Black Dragons have grown a reputation for their apparent trust in their mutated forms, specifically gathering the Space Marines most affected by this mutation into squads called Dragon Claws.
Dragon
These
claws.
Astartes coat the bladed bones on their arms in adamantium, transforming them into deadly ossific blades for close combat. Dragon claws have
Why
forged
not?
a bloody legend across many battlefields
also make
and
use
are
of them.
famed for their tenacious and often ferocious nature. However, despite their stellar war record and their seemingly stable mutation, the Black Dragons still attract unwanted attention, especially from the Mechanicus. It
Really?
is standard routine for chapters to send a tithe of gene seed to Mars for the express purpose of testing it for aberrations and mutations, but also for safekeeping in the case of sector-wide disasters. Despite these
makes
frequent
sense.
tests and the chapter's obvious mutations, the Black Dragons have managed to successfully pass even the most rigorous of gene seed tests, leaving the Martian adepts confused and suspicious. Rumors swirl that the dragons have been taking
Okay.
gene seed from other chapters to send in as their own, but so far there is little proof to support these accusations. Besides the Mechanicus, the Black Dragons have attracted the hate of several other chapters, with the most notable being the Dark Angels and the Marines Malevolent.
Really?
This soured reputation has led to chapters engaging in open hostilities with one another, a fact that should not be surprising considering both chapters' rampant hatred for even the slightest of mutations.
Huh.
As for their
Okay.
origins, the Black Dragons have always maintained that they are the first successors from the Salamander's Legion, although the 18th Legion has never formally confirmed this. While the Salamanders never had any successors recorded before the Ultima founding, which brought a much-needed expansion of Primaris reinforcements, they have officially started to recognize successors. Adding to that, Inquisitor
Man, that's
Cressier
gotta
is
kinda
thought to
suck
have
to
used
be
the genetic
a
material
Black Dragon,
from
being a
every
loyal
legion
Space
during
Marine
his
chapter, but then
experiments, with or without
the other
the blessing
loyalists
of those
also
forces,
don't
so
like you
it should
and,
not be
you know,
considered
kinda
too
hunt you
far-fetched
down.
that the Black Dragons were established with Salamander gene
sucks.
seed.
It's like we're
But
on the same
regardless
side,
of how
you
they
know?
were made, or how they've been forced to survive the constant scrutiny of the deeply paranoid Imperial authorities, none can deny that the Black Dragons have been a loyal force, always quick to act in humanity's defense. In the grim darkness of the 41st millennium, information is power, and protecting that information is critical. Just as the Imperium relies on the vigilance of the Adeptus Astartes to defend its borders, you can safeguard your digital realm with Surfshark VPN.
Well
Surfshark
done.
is your digital fortress, ensuring that your online activities
Oh, yeah, that
remain
must
cloaked
suck
from
to be one of
prying
these
eyes.
cursed chapters
Whether
and
you're
stuff like that
researching
that's
forbidden
loyal,
Warhammer lore, streaming content
but
from
then
distant
everyone
star
you're,
systems, or simply
you know,
accessing
helping to defend
geoblock
is
shows on Netflix and
hunting you
keeping your
down,
search history
you know?
hidden from the Inquisition, Surfshark has you covered. With Surfshark, you can encrypt your internet connection, keeping your data as secure as a tech priest's sacred vaults. Whether you're browsing from your cogitator on Terra, your Vox unit in Segmentum Obscurus, or your laptop at a coffee shop, one account protects all your devices. Geoblocks, a thing of the past. Surfshark lets you unlock content from across the galaxy, or just
Yeah, Black
access that
Dragons
show
sound
only
very
available
cool,
in
you
another
know?
country.
That's pretty
So
smart.
join
you know,
the
covering
ranks
their
of the digitally secured
bone
today.
and
Go to
adamantium,
surfshark.com/morelore
just like
to get
Wolverine,
an exclusive deal.
and then using it in
4
close
extra
quarters
months
combat.
of Surfshark free with your subscription, along with a 30-day money-back
Make use
guarantee.
of what you got.
Surfshark, protecting your data in the vast expanse of the internet, one encrypted connection at a time. The Sons of Antaeus are maybe the only chapter from the Cursed Founding to possess a completely positive gene trait, and a
Really?
reputation that does not draw them into open conflict with other forces of the Imperium. If the rumors are to be believed, the Sons of Antaeus possess massively augmented skeletons, making them larger, stronger, and tougher than almost any other Space Marine in the galaxy.
Really?
This mutation makes even the average battle brother of this chapter seemingly invincible in most cases, and it has
wow.
even been said that the Sons of Antaeus have never lost a battle on solid ground. The problem is that all we really have are
impressive.
rumors, since the Sons are a very
Oh.
secretive chapter, rarely sticking around after battles to socialize with anyone, including other Space Marines.
Yeah, they're
However,
probably-
in one of the
probably a
few
little
records
hesitant,
that do
you know, like,
exist, these Space Marines have
these guys gonna
reportedly been
try to,
able
like,
to
kill us
shrug
too,
off
you know?
otherwise mortal wounds with terrifying ease. This report is from an Imperial Fist successor chapter called the Subjugators, and it details an almost unbelievable battle with the Eldari. Together, these two chapters managed to absolutely destroy an entire army of Eldari pirate corsairs in a matter of days. The Subjugators
Impressive.
had found themselves outmaneuvered by the swift Eldari anti-grav war machines, and were taking heavy fire when a strike force of the Sons of Antaeus arrived without warning, attacking the pirates from behind. Suddenly surrounded, the Xenos made the horrible mistake of thinking that the Sons of Antaeus were the weaker force and attempted a breakout assault on them, pressing their attack against the most indomitable Astartes of the Imperium. Soon the Eldar found themselves bogged down by warriors who refused to die, and then the subjugators counterattacked, leading the two chapters to a swift and decisive victory, with the Sons of Antaeus forming an unbreakable anvil and the subjugators an almost literal hammer. Once the Eldari had been killed or scattered, the subjugators realized that the unkillable Space Marines had vanished as suddenly as they had arrived. Today, the Sons of Antaeus remain a controversial topic. The Imperium struggles to fully trust the chapter, while some less sympathetic observers suspect they are not descended from Ultramarine gene stock at all, but from the Death Guard. It is deeply unusual for the Ultramarines to not embrace a successor chapter, especially one so well regarded. But whether that's a clue that the Sons are not an Ultramarine successor, or just that the 13th Legion wants nothing to do with their cursed founding siblings, is anyone's guess. If it were to be discovered that the Sons of Antaeus are in fact Sons of Mortarion, what little goodwill the chapter has with the Imperium would be instantly lost, and like many others from the cursed founding, they would be deemed heretics and exterminated, which would certainly explain all the secrecy.
You know what I mean?
Although little is known about the Flame Falcons, they showed great potential combating Orcs and Eldar, with no obvious mutations for about the first century of their service. Then, during the Battle of Raffenberg's World, the entire first company of the chapter spontaneously combusted. Chapter Command was horrified at the sudden loss of their elite veterans. They scrambled to bring in their reserves to shore up what had been the most desperate front line of the battle. But when the reserves entered the raging firestorm, they were stunned to discover the warriors of the first company still fighting the enemy. Fire blasted everything close to the Falcon vets, leaving them unharmed while scorching their foes. It seemed their mutation was a beneficial one.
Actually pretty
Psychic
badass.
fire covering these cursed Astartes whenever they became embroiled in heavy combat. In another time, this might have been considered a miracle of faith in the Emperor, but sadly that wasn't the case here.
No, of course not.
Before news of the first company's survival was sent to their chapter master, the incident had already been reported to the Inquisition.
Of course
After the battle, this miraculous self-immolation was observed in more and more of the Flame Falcon's battle brothers, an observation that attracted the wrathful paranoia of the inquisitorial agents looking into their case. So, while the chapter considered it a gift from the Emperor, the Inquisition was not convinced, and put plans into motion that would see the Falcons removed from the Emperor's sight. Upon returning to their homeworld, the chapter celebrated a great victory in their new blessing from the Emperor.
I have a feeling
they were ambushed by the Grey Knights and inquisitorial forces, who purged the chapter and their holdings. Today, it is believed that only a small number of the Flame Falcons survived, but nothing of their current fate is known. Perhaps they still fight for humanity while hiding from the Inquisition. They might even be the true identity of the Legion of the Damned, those fiery Space Marines who appear to aid Imperial forces when their need is most desperate. The Flame Falcons serve as a prime example of the fate that befalls many cursed founding chapters, their mutations becoming too pronounced, leading either to their downfall or to attracting unwanted attention from factions within the Imperium who label them heretical and seek their destruction. Or there is always the secret third option,
that is like
chaos.
You know, that is so sad, like being like this loyalist chapter and stuff like that, and just having this cursed happen to you, and now all of a sudden it's like, well, we just got done fighting alongside you, but, you know, hey, you burst into flames and are still alive and still fighting. Heretic. You know, it's like, but we just helped you guys, you know, we killed the enemy, you know, and now turn your back on us, you know. I mean, that's how you turn chapters to chaos, you know. There you go. There's a perfect excuse to send them over to chaos now, you know. Look what the Emperor, you know, well, not the Emperor, but look what the Imperium did to you, you know. You fought alongside your fellow brothers, and then they turned their back on you and killed most of you. Come on, bring it in. Bring it in. Join chaos. We got you. That's not right. I mean, there you go. Now they just joined chaos. They were on your side, and now you sent them to the other side. You know what I mean? I'm sure. Who knows? Maybe they're still loyalists now. Still, who knows? But yeah, that's just sad seeing fellow Space Marines being on your side, and then all of a sudden, like, ooh, don't like you anymore. Even though that could be a gift from the Emperor. The Emperor does all these strange and mysterious gifts and stuff like that. Could have been a gift from the Emperor, but
Meet the Blood Gorgons, a cursed founding chapter who was declared excommunicate traitoris just 60 years after their creation.
Damn.
Not much is recorded from the years where the Gorgons were loyalists, although references to the leadership of their chapter master being the main cause for their descent into heresy are frequent. Otherwise, it's not even known if they had any mutations or why exactly the Inquisition ordered the Space Wolves to chase them off of their home planet. Pursued into the Eye of Terror, the Blood Gorgons were scattered and strife with infighting for some time before a new leader, a Chaos Lord named Gamadin, ended the conflict and reunited the broken chapter with a blood bonding ritual that affirms each warrior's service to the ruinous powers, as well as a trusted battle brother. Sort of like a chaotic buddy system.
Interesting.
Doing this, the two Astartes exchange organs, blood, and even skin for them to embrace demonic corruption together, forging arguably the most intense and strongest form of brotherhood in all of 40k.
Wow.
Once this bond has been formed, the two Space Marines become near inseparable as they can feel each other's physical pain and sense when they are in danger. The Blood Gorgons, similar to the Red Corsairs, ambush and disrupt Imperial supply lines for loot and sacrifice to their dark gods from their Space Hulk Cauldron Born, focusing on the Bastion sector worlds that they had once defended. Unfortunately for them, recent reports indicate that Gamadin had been killed, and so the Renegade chapter has once more fallen into infighting.
Of course.
A Space Marine chapter whose name has long been a byword for devastation and wrath, the story of the Firehawks has been one of the most eventful and painful out of any of the Cursed Founding. Unlike most of their 21st Founding peers, the Firehawks took an active part during the civil wars of the Age of Apostasy, siding with Sebastian Thor and strictly believing in the divinity of the Emperor. And it was during this conflict that their first stroke of bad luck would hit, as their home planet of Zoros was destroyed by thermal bombs. After the fighting, the victorious Thor, now the new Ecclesiarch of Terra, gave the Firehawks a mighty gift. The great Crusade-era mobile void fortress Raptoris Rex. The chapter gratefully accepted becoming a fleet-based chapter until they acquired another homeworld, Custo 11, which was rendered uninhabitable shortly afterwards. Firehawk's founding curse appears to be one of terrible luck, or maybe it was just rage. Regardless of how loyal this chapter was to the Imperial Creed, they faced both distrust for being from the Cursed Founding and also for their excessive use of force, putting many cities and colonies to the torch without a second thought. Other Space Marine chapters shared this mistrust, considering the Firehawks to be lacking in brotherhood and overly prideful, traits that are blamed on their founding, but could easily be from their mysterious Geneseed origins. Because although the Firehawks claim ancestry from the Ultramarines, that idea has been thoroughly rejected both through genetic testing and by the Lords of Macrogge. So who knows which legion the chapter hails from, but they sure weren't shy about picking fights. The Firehawks' wanton disregard for human life and that of their allies resulted in a 3-century-long feud with the Iron Hands, a feud that only ended with the death of a Firehawk commander in one-on-one combat. And that's just loyalists. The Firehawks often pick fights with enemy forces they just could not beat. Notably, they were the first of the Loyalist chapters to become engaged in the infamous Badab War when they were attacked by the Mantis Warriors in M41. Although the Badab War would have turned hostile with or without the involvement of the Firehawks, it is important to note that unlike most chapters involved, there was a personal grudge against the Astral Claws from a previous incident as well, which ultimately led the Firehawks to overextend themselves and take massive casualties. so massive that they were forced to bow out of the fighting for a bit due to threat of total annihilation. Post-Badab War, it appears their terrible luck has continued and the Firehawks have been declared as officially missing. In 963 M41, the entire chapter fleet, including the Raptorus Rex, attempted a short warp jump to face a group of Drakari pirates. The jump was calculated to take no more than 12 hours, but they never showed up. The Space Fortress Raptorus Rex, 5 Firehawks ships, over 800 Battle Brothers, and 2,000 support personnel just went missing. Now, there have been a few sightings of the Firehawks flagship fortress since then, with news that Marines wearing the Hawks colors were seen fighting at the furthest reaches of Imperial space, but nothing has been confirmed. There are theories that the new Firehawks survivors have returned as the Legion of the Damned, but these theories conflict with historical accounts, as records state the Legion of the Damned appeared long before the Firehawks were even founded. There is, of course, much more to be said about the Legion of the Damned and their relation to the Firehawks, but that subject is best explored in the future. The Lamenters are one of the few chapters from the Cursed founding to still have an active Loyalist presence, a feat all the more impressive considering the number of times the chapter has faced annihilation. Descended from the Blood Angels, the Lamenters had their gene seed altered and experimented with like many others of their founding. But the modifications ended up working exactly as intended, that being to eliminate the Red Thirst and Black Rage that have both plagued the Blood Angels since the death of their Primarch. This has led to rumors that the Blood Angels themselves might have played a role in the experiments conducted on the Lamenters, or at least have given some form of approval as knowledge of their gene flaws are a closely kept secret. By all accounts, the Lamenters had a long history of being a proud member of the Blood Angels Council of Blood, a conclave of chapters descended from the Primarch Sanguinius and have been dutiful adherents to the Codex Astartes. Yet somehow the Lamenters still did not walk away without sharing in their founding curse. Like the Firehawks, the Lamenters are infamous for their misfortune, leading them to possess a significantly higher casualty rate than other chapters, and at times they have been abandoned by their allies. During the Badab War, the Lamenters stayed true to their oaths of friendship to Luft Huron and his Astral Claws, completely unaware of the chaos and corruption that had taken the once noble chapter master. The Lamenters had fought beside the Astral Claws and the Mantis Warriors for years and had been told that early attacks against the Claws were attempts by the Inquisition to challenge the sovereignty of the Adeptus Astartes as a whole. So while the Lamenters mostly refused to fight other Space Marines, they had sided with the Renegades, and so were enemies of the Imperium during this conflict, eventually being nearly destroyed at the hands of a fellow Cursed founding chapter, the Minotaurs. Although they were spared from extinction, their war gear, resources, and even ships would be taken as punishment for their actions by the Loyalists, resulting in the Lamenters nearly losing all hope. When brought to trial, the Lamenters would be spared, but given further reprimand with a century-long penitent crusade, as even though the chapter was found to have not fallen to chaos, nor to have rebelled against the Emperor, they had still fought against Loyalist forces and had to pay some price to earn forgiveness.
Of course.
Of course, the bad luck didn't stop there. Penitent crusades aren't meant to be easy after all, and their first action afterwards saw the whole chapter nearly wiped out as they attempted to stop the oncoming tide of the Tyranids of Hive Fleet Kraken. After the dust had settled, only 3 companies, barely 300 Lamenters, are reported to have survived. Here the chapter drops off the map for a while. The Blood Angels themselves couldn't even find them, but reports of Lamenters engaging in battle persist. Regardless, up until the Ultima founding, even other Lamenters like the Dreadnought Charon, who is on permanent assignment to the Death Watch, believed that their brothers had all been killed. With the return of the Ultramarines Primarch Rabute Guilliman, chapters like the Lamenters have been given a second chance with new Primaris recruits. So while they still remain highly resistant to the genetic flaws of their gene seed, the new Primaris Lamenters have, like other successors of the Blood Angels, had to form a cadre of Death Company Astartes. However, even with the reinforcements, their numbers remain quite small, leading them to be one of only 2 Blood Angel successor chapters to have not answered Dante's call to aid during the devastation of Baal, possibly fearing that their bad luck would have made the invasion worse. The Lamenters still managed to be a proud and noble chapter to this day,
gotta feel bad for
sacrificing
that,
life
you know?
and limb for the citizens of the Imperium. But
We wanna
beneath
help,
their
but
nobility resides a gloomy and dark
bad
outlook.
luck, you
They
know?
are solemn and quiet, exuding an aura of doom that
don't wanna give you our
unsettles
bad
even
luck.
their allies. The final chapter of the Cursed Founding, whose legacy has not been fully forgotten, that
But at least they
is
got
the infamous
reinforcements.
Minotaurs.
Some. I mean, it's better than
Slaughterers of the
nothing,
Lamenters,
you know?
spearhead of the High Lords of Terra, and a deeply mysterious chapter. In their early history, they were known for their headstrong berserker charges, arriving at random, charging with overwhelming force and ferocity, and then suddenly disappearing. This erratic behavior, combined with other discrepancies, has led to both the Inquisition and the Ecclesiarchy wanting to formally investigate the chapter. Yet, for some reason, all requests have been denied from higher up within the Imperium, or those investigating have simply disappeared. One of the many
Really?
theories about the Minotaurs and their apparent diplomatic immunity is that they are being used as a dedicated force by the High Lords of Terra. This would not be out of character for the scheming High Lords, and it's a matter of
Okay.
record that the Minotaurs are extremely obedient to them, following the High Lords' directives quickly and efficiently. This theory stems from their strange disappearance in M38 and
So the High
reappearance
Lords of
in
Terra could be
M41
protecting them.
with a full
Interesting.
complement of new strike cruisers, tanks, and war gear, as well as a complete change in overall demeanor, leading to yet another theory that the Minotaurs of M41 are not the same chapter as the Cursed Founding Astartes of M38. Some darker suggestions are that the Minotaurs were designed to kill disloyal Astartes, or that their gene seed originates from one of the traitor legions, such as the Iron Warriors or World Eaters. According to some Imperial scholars, the Minotaurs might even be created from heretical chimeric gene seed. But if you want to hear more about the theory surrounding these bronze Spartan-like
Do look kinda
Astartes,
cool.
then congratulations,
lie,
because
look
we
pretty badass.
agree that they are very interesting, and we made a video all about them, where we explore the true depths of this ancient yet mysterious chapter. There is much to say about the Cursed Founding, but ultimately it proved to be a great tragedy. In mere centuries, there were thousands, if not tens of thousands, of Astartes ready to set out into the stars fighting for humanity's interests in the galaxy, yet all they got was tragedy and madness thanks to some ill-advised experimentation. So, which Cursed Founding chapter is your favorite and why? Also,
I
do you
don't
know
know,
any
they're all
other
pretty
references to
interesting.
other chapters created during these years that we left out? There is no end to the many stories of pain and horror in the 42nd millennium, so do be sure to like and subscribe so that you aren't kept in the dark without more lore.
There we go. Wow. That was interesting. Man, that was kind of cool, you know? All these cursed Space Marine chapters and stuff like that, and some of them just having like strings of bad luck and just for, you know, things that unfortunately happened to them, and then even though you were just fighting side by side with other loyalists, you know, like that chapter that, you know, set on fire and was still fighting with you, and all of a sudden it's like, seems kind of heretical. You know, gonna have to, you know, don't trust you anymore. You know, it's like, but we were just fighting. We're still with you. We're still loyal, you know? You know, that is sad, you know what I mean? That is tragic, you know? So many of these poor chapters and stuff like that, and then just getting, you know, either wiped out or almost wiped out or completely wiped out. You know, and just not having trust despite them being, you know, so loyal and stuff. Man, that is sad. Especially, what was it, the Firehawks? No, which chapter was it? Lamenters. Yeah, Lamenters. You know, that's a pretty sad chapter and stuff like that. All the bad luck, and then, you know, not answering the call to Baal. You know, because they were like, we don't want to give you guys our bad luck. You know, we've been having bad luck, and then if we come, something bad might happen. You know, it's like, man, it's like uber depressing. You know, it's like we want to answer the call, but what if something happens because of us? You know, it's like, damn, that is major depressing. It's like, home planet's being attacked. I want to go help, but you know, what if something goes wrong? But I mean, at least they did get some Primaris reinforcements, so at least they're still, you know, got some reinforcements at least, you know, so at least they got some numbers back. Not a lot, but at least some is better than none. I mean, shit, some other chapters are just getting like just completely wiped out despite being still loyal, you know. So hey, at least you're getting something. Minotaurs seem really cool, but that's pretty interesting. How they're being protected and stuff like that, and yeah, that's pretty dope. That's pretty badass. You know, how they're being protected and stuff like that. So that's very cool. You know, I guess by the High Lord of Terra. And then, of course, the Legion of the Damned. You know, it's still a mysterious chapter right there alone. You know, still really cool. Gotta find some videos and definitely learn more about that, because I'd like to see what the Imperium kind of thinks about them. That'd be kind of strange if it's like, well, this is the Emperor's divine will, you know? So they're fine. They're good. But it's like, okay. Other chapters are doing the same thing, but whatever. You know? But yeah. So anyways, there we go. There is every single cursed Space Marine chapter explained. Man, kind of a shame how they drew the short straw. You know, but at least some are still around and stuff like that. Some are, you know, still loyal and still kind of doing their own thing in whatever way they can, you know. Well, you know, you guys don't trust us, but we're still loyal, so we'll stay far away from you and just kind of do what we can to help, you know, as far away from you guys as we can, you know. But it is what it is, you know. So anyways, there we go. There's the video. That was really cool, you know, to learn about all these sad, tragic, cursed Space Marine chapters. Let me know which one is your favorite cursed Space Marine chapter. Let me know why. And yeah, if there's any good videos on the Legion of the Damned, let me know, because I'd definitely like to learn more about the Legion of the Damned, because they sound very interesting. I think I've seen like one video about how they like just come and go and stuff like that, and I think how people thought they were like the Thunderhawks or something, some sort of theory on that. But yeah, let me know. Let me know. So anyways, other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. That'd be awesome. Remember, feel free to subscribe to my channel. Follow me on social media. Links in the description box below. And other than that, just stick around. More videos are on the way. And I will see you guys next time.